Cathie Wood recently bought back into Palantir, and we just got an update from Brett Winton, the head of ARC Innovation Research, on what their logic was, not exactly for investing in Palantir, but investing in the AI space. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that if this analysis is how they conceptualize the AI space and the overall market opportunity for AI, that is likely the reason they have decided to go back into Palantir. Now, we're probably going to get an update, I would say in a week or so. Every time ARC initiates a new position, they release some notes, even if it's just a paragraph, on why they decided to initiate the position. And so in about a week or two, we should get a more detailed update on why they legitimately believe Palantir is a stock they want to hold for the long term, now that they bought 4.3 million shares. But the video we're about to play from the head of research gives you a little bit of an understanding on how they conceptualize the AI space and ultimately why big tech is not a focus for Palantir, or for ARC Innovation. So let's get into it and let's analyze how ARC thinks about AI.
For more on this, let's bring in ARK Invest Chief Futurist Brett Winton, Fast Money's favorite futurist. Brett, great to have you with us.
Great to be there.
The only one we know, actually. But just to be clear, for Amazon, when we think about what Amazon does already, I mean, it knows what books I want to read. It knows, what food I like to eat, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, on some levels, isn't AI already being implemented? What is the difference between what Amazon is doing now with what they will employ?
And this is in reference to the fact that Amazon is now using large language models to further enhance the search experience on the platform. And so that's why they're talking about how AI is actually going to shape the platform in a better way for e-commerce.
Well, I think that this more speaks to how Amazon's front-end experience is broken and perhaps profoundly broken because of the way they incorporate kind of third-party products onto their platform. I think Amazon's platform, it has a lot of legacy debt to how the business has evolved. And so it's natural that they try to apply new language models to helping user discovery. I think through their smart speaker networks, that's maybe been a more promising way they can deliver users to products that they want to buy. And every company is going to have to adapt to AI. It's funny, Dan, to hear you talking about, oh, this is hype or a near-term hype cycle. Our belief is that there's going to be upwards of $90 trillion that accrues to the enterprise value of AI software companies broadly.
So right there, I mean, already when ARC Innovation believes there's going to be $90 trillion of value from AI to enterprise companies from software, I don't know if the number is 90 trillion, but let's just say it's 10% of that, right? 9 trillion. And even if you want to go below that, it's just like there is a lot of opportunity here. And I think if they're talking about in the context of enterprises, they didn't say consumers, they said enterprise value. What is the one company that's really leading, presumably, an enterprise AI initiation? I mean, we know this, 2021, the company that generated the most revenue for AI was Palantir at 1.3 billion. Microsoft was underneath them at about 1.1 billion. So, I mean, Palantir is the leader at implementing AI-based enabled solutions for the enterprise. And it seems like now that they're GAAP profitable, ARC decided that if we think it's a $90 trillion market, then we should probably have a little bit of Palantir.
Speaking, and to give you a sense of that scale, the current equity markets are on the order of $100 trillion. So there's a huge business value opportunity that's going to be kind of accommodated over the course of this business cycle. Now, is Amazon, because it announces a large language model at its front end, going to take advantage of that? Probably not. It's actually, maybe a legacy infrastructure that they have that they need to upgrade to stay competitive with nimble competitors.
90 trillion, but how much is destroyed, Brett, on the other side of it? I mean, I'm just curious because on the face of it, it sounds like an amazing thing that Amazon's going to be doing this. But at the same time, if you think about how Amazon is working right now, when you search for something, the knock on Amazon in recent years is that it delivers a lot of sponsored content, products you may not necessarily want.
By the way, which is how they put up $40 billion in ad revenue, right? So these LLMs, if you're not giving that sponsored content, it fundamentally changes the relationship a consumer has with advertising on the platform. And that's something they kind of have to figure out.
But they pay for the advertising. How does that work when you're doing generative AI? Do we know enough yet to know that this will be as profitable for Amazon as its current business model?
I mean, the short answer is no, we don't. And that's part of the reason why I'm surprised that the shares rally on the news, because they do have an advertising business and companies are basically merchants jockeying to appear higher on their search rankings, and using a large language model to deliver end users to products could break that, and perhaps profoundly. Google faces the exact same dilemma. I think it's interesting to me that these large, mega cap tech companies have rallied over the course of the last few months, when it seems to me that the likely output of AI is to enable their smaller and more nimble competitors to nibble at their heels while they use these technologies to try to beat each other over the head. And so it's not clear to me that it accrues to any of the mega cap tech companies' benefit, despite what the market seems to be embedding.
Brett, so that's my question. Why this announcement from Amazon today? I mean, this doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and I kind of agree with what you're saying. We certainly argued cynically that AI is something that's already, like, Amazon didn't just start investing here. Google, so what are they all, why are they doing? Is this as simple as just understanding kind of what moves stocks, or is there more going on here?
I mean, sometimes it could be that the leadership team believes that their employees are not moving quickly enough to deploy technology. And so it's a way to prod the internal employee base that this is something we need to take seriously. And we know it's going to disrupt existing business lines. And we as an organization need to move more quickly. I can't speak to exactly why, Amazon announces this now. I can say that across the board, enterprises are taking up AI very quickly because they see very clear ROI cases. And it's not just in these big tech companies that it's happening. This is accelerating every technology across every sector. And I think business leaders or savvy business leaders know they need to move quickly, because or else they're going to fall behind because of the rapidity of the pace of change here.
And again, the race of change here, I think Ark is, Brett is correct on this. If the rate of change is starting to become more exponential in terms of how AI is adopted to deliver ROI for businesses, it is very similar to what was happening in the early 2000s, 2010s, where the internet was a thing. And if you didn't have a .com, you were not competitive. The beneficiaries of those of that era was obviously Amazon, Netflix, Facebook, Google, right? These companies that completely monopolized how to be able to access the internet and then created the distribution funnels around it. And it's the same thing happening with AI, which is why Microsoft and Google are going head to head, because whoever controls this market in terms of enterprise application and then ultimately the distributive mechanisms for how consumers find and discover different things, if it's going to happen via AI and not necessarily on a search box, then everything has changed. Everything has fundamentally changed. And I think Ark is noticing that if enterprises need to be able to understand how their businesses can become more effective via AI, what is the platform that is going to implement the infrastructure of AI in their businesses? It's not going to be ChatGPT. And it's not going to be, some random little solution by C3 AI or Snowflake or Databricks. It's going to have to be something that is years beyond the competition and that is actually producing business results, something that takes BP's oil costs from $14 to $6. And I think that's the AIP platform. I think that is Palantir. And I think Ark is starting to recognize that as well.
It sounds like, Brett, that what you're saying is that if you want to play AI, if you want to invest in AI, investing in the 5 biggest technology companies in the United States, that's not the way to go right now.
Yeah, I think it actually imperils each of their business models is imperiled in a unique way. Apple has privacy issues that prevents it from taking data from users. Google has their entire search franchise that's potentially put at risk. Google's using it to try to wound Microsoft and its Office 365 product. And here, Amazon AI, if anything, is likely to empower a lot of independent merchants to operate outside of Amazon's platform and eat away at the logistics advantage they have in low-cost delivery by enabling drone delivery from outside vendors and really producing point-to-point mobility for people. In the meantime, you just mentioned Tesla and Elon Musk. Hey, Tesla has the largest deployed fleet of robots in the world. If you look at Amazon's robot fleet for its distribution centers, they have roughly 3,000 robots per employee. Tesla, if you look at their vehicles, they have 300,000 per employee in terms of deployed robots. And so I think that there's interesting and other ways to play this.
And so this was the real part of this clip that I thought was incredibly important to understand. Big tech, in terms of an investment thesis for AI, it is not a bad thesis, but I think what Ark is saying here is that it's not the most profitable thesis. So if you think of a company like Microsoft that is like a $2.5 trillion market cap, for them to 10x and turn into a $10 trillion plus company is a lot to ask for. I mean, what do the earnings even look like for a $10 trillion company, right? Like how do we actually measure that? How do we actually reconcile that? It's not that easy to be able to understand. It's also not as easy to understand how those businesses, as Brett said, wouldn't be imperiled by this fact. Google's entire search business that produces, I think, 70 to 80% of their overall revenues goes to not zero, but very close to that if people stop clicking on links. It's just that simple. If people stop clicking on sponsored links, there is no search-based advertising. Search advertising doesn't work anymore because people won't click on the links. The only reason search advertising works is because you type in something, the first 3 links are really interesting, they're really important, they get your attention, you click, that advertiser pays Google for that attention. If that goes away, then the entire business model, and that's not to say they can't come up with another one, but search-based advertising has been the most profitable business ever. It's been one of the best businesses ever. That changes things. Amazon's entire $40 billion making off ads is from people searching for water bottles, and you get a bunch of sponsor link for water bottles. You click it because you don't feel like scrolling down a little bit more. And then boom, that advertiser pays Amazon for giving them that traffic. And that's the advertising business that is constructed. AI changes that at a fundamental level. And we don't know how quick it's going to change that. We don't know if it's overall going to change it. But I think Brett's point is like, if you're going to invest in big tech for an AI play, the companies have built their moats off the old era of the internet, which was sort of rudimentary, connect to the web, advertising, sort of these basic models. And they've built big companies. They've given massive shareholder returns, but to expect them to adapt as easily into the next 10x, 20x over the next 10, 20 years, for them to be able to adapt with the times, even though their entire businesses are structured off something that is antithetical to how we understand artificial intelligence and the implications that it has, is a big thing to ask. It's not that it's impossible, it's just a big thing to ask. And it leads to a better argument for why Tesla is an investment by ARK Innovation, right? We understand the Tesla thesis, but this hypercharges how Tesla will be able to take advantage of AI. In the context of Palantir, I think what ARK is looking at here is like, if we think that there's $90 trillion of value that's going to be enabled via AI, and for the enterprise, that's going to mean a lot of opportunity, that opportunity doesn't just come out of thin air, right? So if you're, I think here's the best example. If you're a company that needs to drive traffic to your website to be able to sell something, in 2007, 2008, if you could bid on a certain keyword and there was not that much competition for that keyword, that's an opportunity. Gary Vaynerchuk actually speaks about this. He's an entrepreneur that's pretty popular on social media. When he started winelibrary.com, he was selling wine on the internet. He was the only person in like the world that thought we could sell wine on the internet. This was 1996. And when Google AdWords came out around 1999 or 2000, he started bidding for the word wine when people searched. It was like 5 cents a click. Now, today, you would never get 5 cents a click on the word wine. But imagine, people searched in wine for 5 cents. He could get someone to buy a $20 piece of wine. Like that transformed his business, and as a result of it transforming his business, because there was a new model of discovery and advertising, it enabled Google to become the behemoth that they are, but enabled opportunity for all these other small businesses. You think of businesses today that are going to need AI to drive data-driven decision-making and all the other things that they can do, how much of an ROI can that produce? And if that can produce a massive ROI, then the question here is Google or Microsoft going to be enabling the infrastructure and for other companies to do what Google did for Wine Library back in 2000? Or is it going to be a company like Palantir? Is it going to be a different startup? Is it going to be a tech company that isn't boggled down with the bureaucracy and inefficiencies and, quite frankly, the business models that were never conducive to AI or machine learning, but rather their entire moat in the context of Palantir is rooted in how can we use software to change things, make it more effective, the entire concept of an ontology and what that means for your business and how you can see different things in a different light and then make decisions that are actually actionable. What is the actual time to value for your business to make decisions? I think ARK is making a pretty strong judgment here that if that is going to be the future of where enterprise software is going, and if AI is going to be at the forefront of that, and that's why I think Karp spoke so much about AIP at the earnings call. That's all he really talked about in terms of demand, because he knew that shareholders need to understand what the real trajectory is for Palantir. And that trajectory, it's not Foundry, it's not Gotham, it's not Apollo. At this point, it is the AIP platform and how well they can scale that in addition to the other things they have. And if they can do that at scale, this is going to be a very, very unique opportunity in the market over the next 10 years. And that's what I think ARK is seeing in relationship to Palantir versus other bigger companies like Big Tech. So we'll get a little bit more of an update hopefully soon on why exactly they decided to invest back in Palantir. But I think GAAP profitability, S&P 500 inclusion, and this idea that big tech cannot enable AI in the same way that smaller companies can. The big tech is already massively valued, and for them to 10x, you would have to have tens of trillions of dollars of valuation. And the fact that AI would potentially imperil their existing business models provides an opportunity for ARK to look to other AI-based companies for the enterprise software space. And Palantir is one of the companies that exists in that space, and it's profitable. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think about ARK investing in Palantir. I'll see you guys in the next one.